So, what if I told you that all your retirement savings could become completely worthless? Maybe even overnight? It's a pretty wild thought, right? Well, that's the future we're diving into today, and it all kicks off with a really startling prediction about our money, our jobs, and a world that's about to be totally reshaped by artificial intelligence. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. That's a quote that just stops you in your tracks. You've got Elon Musk, a guy who is literally building the future, telling you that your 401k might as well be irrelevant. This isn't just some throwaway comment. He's pointing to a massive, fundamental shift that he sees coming.
So what on earth is behind a statement like that? Is he giving out terrible financial advice? Well, the source material we're digging into today argues that no, this is not financial advice. It's a forecast. It's a prediction about a world-changing event that's being driven by one single thing: artificial intelligence. The whole reason for this radical prediction comes down to something experts are calling the AI singularity. Now, that's a term for a moment in time so transformative, so reality-bending, that it's basically impossible to see what comes after it.
And this is just a brilliant way to picture it. You know that feeling, right? You're at the very top of the roller coaster, that split second of weightlessness where you're just hanging there. You know, the huge drop is coming, but you can't quite see the track below you. That's exactly where the source says we are right now with AI.
So what's the engine that's pulling us over that peak? It's something called artificial general intelligence, or AGI. Now, we're not talking about the AI that recommends your next movie on Netflix. No. This is an AI that is smarter than the smartest human at everything. Anything a person can do, it can do better.
Okay, now look at this, because this slide is where things get really wild. It's all about how fast the goalposts have moved. Just a decade ago, most people thought AGI was pure science fiction. Fast forward to today, and the source claims we are right in the middle of this singularity event. And Musk himself, he thinks it could get here as early as next year. That acceleration, that's the whole story right there.
So, let's say AGI arrives. What happens the day after? Well, the most immediate, the most disruptive impact is going to be on the human workforce. It's going to change the very idea of what a job even is.
And the source points out that this isn't just about blue-collar jobs anymore. I mean, yeah, of course, factory workers and truck drivers are on the list. But look at what else is there. Coders, accountants, analysts. These are jobs that we thought required deep, complex human thought. This thing is set to cut across the entire economy.
And to get a sense of the sheer scale of this change, just listen to this anecdote. Musk reportedly said that for the first 2 years, every single robot Tesla builds will be put to work inside Tesla. Can you even imagine how many robots one of the world's biggest companies can make in 2 years? The source calls it a workforce army, and that image, it really paints a picture of the speed and scale we are up against.
And this, right here, brings us to the central problem. When entire industries, entire categories of work just dissolve, not over a generation, but maybe in just a couple of years, what do? How does a society even function when that fundamental link between work and survival is just broken? This is the critical choice our source material is exploring.
All right, so the first and probably the most common answer you hear is universal basic income, or UBI. The source presents this as kind of the default path, the one that's going to be offered up first when the crisis really hits.
Now, it's really important to understand that the source material we're looking at is, it's highly critical of this option. It doesn't see modern UBI as just a temporary safety net. It argues it could become a permanent system, one that leads to a centrally managed society where depending on the government just becomes the new normal.
But UBI is not the only option on the table. The source brings up a really fascinating alternative, and it's championed by someone you would probably never expect.
Yeah, you heard that right. Milton Friedman, the guy who's basically the champion of hardcore capitalism. It turns out he actually supported a form of basic income, but it was fundamentally different from the UBI plans we hear about today. He called it the negative income tax.
So how does this thing actually work? Well, first, Friedman's plan would get rid of the entire complicated welfare bureaucracy, food stamps, housing subsidies, all of it, and replace it with one simple system. Then, you set a basic income floor. If you earn less than that, the government sends you a check to top you up. But, and this is the absolute key, that support fades out gradually as you earn more. This way, you are always better off for every single extra dollar you earn. The whole system is built to make sure work always pays.
So when you put them side by side, the source basically frames the choice like this. Modern UBI is presented as a path that risks dependency and central control, maybe even tied to things like digital IDs or rules about how you can spend your money. On the other hand, Friedman's model is presented as a way to protect individual choice and actually shrink the government's role by just simplifying everything down to a single cash payment.
Ultimately, the source argues that this isn't just some dry economic debate. It's a debate about what kind of society we actually want to live in as we head into this massive technological revolution.
And the stakes, they really could not be higher. The argument is that if we just wait for the crisis to happen before we do anything, our options are going to get very narrow very fast. Sudden mass unemployment could trigger intense political radicalization, and that could lead us down some much darker paths than either of the solutions we've just talked about.
This phrase, which is pulled from the source, just perfectly frames the moment we're in. We are facing a choice that could lead to radicalism or even revolution. Or, if we get it right, a recovery that helps our society adapt to this completely new reality. So here's the bottom line. We might be heading into a world where technology can provide all the basic necessities for every single person. The real question then becomes, what do we want that world to look like? What is the role of work? What is the role of society? It's a huge debate, and it's one we need to start having right now, before that roller coaster really starts its descent.